Hi, this is your host Swapnil Bhartiya and welcome to another episode of Mainframe Matters. We are here at Open Mainframe Summit in Philadelphia and today we have with us Anthony Enter. You are DevOps Evangelist and Technologist at BMC. First of all, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Swapnil. I appreciate being here. It's an honor.
Perfect. Yeah, it is my honor as well. Today's focus is more or less on how mainframe can leverage Git. Git, doesn't need any introduction.
Nope.
It has kind of become one of the, I don't even know the right term, but that's how the code, source code, it's standard, how the source code, has been developed, tracked, and shared. Talk a bit about where does it fit in the mainframe or open mainframe story?
So, like you said, Git has become a standard source code management system on the distributed side of development for a long time now. Linus Torvalds developed it and built it, and I don't think he gets enough credit for developing Git in the same way he does Linux, as you and I were just talking about a minute ago. But he developed it, and I would say it probably is well into the 90+% market share on the distributed side. How does it fit into mainframe? It fits any kind of development necessary that involves source code management. Meaning it doesn't matter you're deploying your application to a mainframe environment or to a Linux environment or to the cloud or a mobile app. Git is a source code tool that is designed to allow teams to have a better developer experience while enabling greater parallel development. And it fits into the mainframe app dev space because it brings to the mainframe something that you don't have a lot of, which is that ability to do parallel development, that ability to have a source code manager and be able to branch as many times as you need in order for each individual to have their own development environment to make their changes. And it's a bit of a gear shift for mainframe developers and for people that are newer to Git development who are coming in from the old world. But once you get into Git and once you see the power that you have by having that modern source code management system like Git, I think that you'll start to see that the benefits far outweigh the change moment.
Perfect. Can you talk about what kind of work is being done by the mainframe community? We can also talk about BMC if any efforts are being made, and if yes, what are those?
I think that on the mainframe community in general, in BMC specifically, Git is becoming part of the conversation for mainframe app dev. Before, you never really discussed it. Mainframe was a separate entity, a separate thing, a black box for app dev. Then you started to see the mainframe adopt DevOps and DevOps principles. And this idea that the mainframe wasn't a platform for those kinds of things is gone. Now, the mainframe is just another platform. The mainframe is just another server in your data center. You probably can't tell it. If you looked at it flush one against the other, you probably couldn't tell the difference between the cloud box and the one running ZOS, right? It's just another platform. So as DevOps proliferated, you started seeing the worlds come together between the distributed side that had been doing CI, CD, DevOps, DevSecOps, SRE for a long time, and the mainframe was now starting to adopt a lot of those principles. Along with that, in comes Git. Git is, as we just discussed a minute ago, it's the predominant source code management system on the distributed side. So now, as you start seeing DevOps proliferate on the mainframe, the conversation now starts to go to what are the other tools, capabilities, things that you can bring onto the mainframe to modernize that developer experience, to modernize app dev on the mainframe. And Git is a natural fit there. And I think that's why you're seeing this proliferation of teams and companies like BMC start going down the Git path. And I think at BMC, we're going all in on Git and how you use Git, how Git interfaces with the tooling on the mainframe, and how application development teams can use Git to create a superior developer experience for their engineers. ISPW is our BMC's source code management / build / deployment tool. So it is the tool that you use to store your code if you're not using Git, as well as to build and deploy your code. We've integrated that with Git, so now you can use Git, and when I say Git, I mean it in generic terms. It doesn't matter whether you're talking what skin you're using, GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, pick your poison. Any of the Git systems will work with it. Basically, ISPW interfaces with Git so as you can use ISPW for your builds and for your deploys, and then use Git for your source code management. So the solution that we have really takes the best of both worlds. It takes the best in breed for source code management and then pairs it with the best in breed for doing builds and deploys on the mainframe, which is ISPW.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing about that as well. Now, if you look at Git and mainframe, are there a specific consideration when kind of somebody considers, Git for their own software delivery goals, or it doesn't really matter? It's the same for anything else?
It's the same. I mean, it's the same for anything else, Swapnil. Using Git for COBOL source code versus using Git for Go versus using Git for Node versus using Git for Java. Git is Git. How you operate, how you handle source code management, how you branch and tag and merge, it's all going to be the same. The underlying technology, and beyond that, the underlying language and platform that you're deploying to are not really going to change how you interface with Git. So all of the cool techniques and standards that people are using today for Git development and for developing on the Git platform can be reused in the future for COBOL and for anything. And decoupling the platform and language from your source code and where you're actually handling and managing your source code allows you to basically put anything into Git.
It's at an early stage, but what kind of, number one, adoption you're seeing where people are considering Git? Number two is that how disruptive it is, to move all your source codes to Git, or do you have to once again, some goes to the Git and some may remain somewhere else? What are the challenges? What are the complexities that you see that are there? So is it all-in approach or more like flexible or partial approach?
So there's a couple of approaches. You can go all in with Git, and you can use Git 100% for your source code and your source code management. The approach that BMC has taken is more of what we call a hybrid approach, which basically allows an application to decide, do I want to be on Git? Do I want to use Git for my source code management? Or do I want to stay on the mainframe and use ISPW and the source code management that's built into the mainframe? Our approach allows you application by application to make that decision. So we've never prescribed to the one size fits all, that you have to go all in, you have to be 100% here. There are applications that, while Git is an incredible source code management tool, and I would use it for any projects that I'm working on, maybe it doesn't fit everything. Maybe it doesn't work, or maybe it's too much of a change moment for an application that's in maintenance mode, that's maybe only deploying once, twice a year, just doing quick updates, patches, things like that. Then it might be too heavyweight for that kind of application. Whereas other applications that are trying to get to daily or weekly deploys, Git would be a perfect fit for them. So instead of forcing everybody onto one platform or onto one system, the approach that BMC takes is this hybrid approach where application A can be on the mainframe and practicing traditional mainframe development. There's nothing wrong with that. That's served the world for a long, long time, and it's great. But application B, they want to be a little bit more mature in their DevOps, so they're going to go onto Git and use Git. And both of those applications can exist in the same environment in the same way and pick the path that works best for them. So we've never prescribed to the all in, everybody fits into one package scenario.
What kind of adoption is already there of Git within the mainframe ecosystem?
Right now, I think it's early days. I think a lot of applications, companies, organizations, vendors like us, everyone, we're all talking Git. We all have Git solutions. I don't know that anyone's taken the full plunge all in on Git. We have several organizations that are working with us on moving into Git, but right now I don't know that anybody is fully mature. I think we're in early days with Git adoption. But that being said, I think probably within the next 3 years, you're going to see a major uptick and a major turn where most applications are, if they're not going to move to Git, they're going to explore moving to Git. And as you see more organizations, SMEs retire, and you see a new breed of people coming into the mainframe for mainframe development on the platform, I think you're going to see the push for Git be a lot higher. So right now, I think we're in the early days of this, of moving mainframe source to Git. I think later on we'll have a much better idea of what the adoption will be.
Right. So as companies, who are like dipping their toes in mainframe, what kind of advice, tips you have to get it started so that once again, they should have a very balanced, as you said, hybrid approach, so they can move without having to put everything in hey, this is not, sometimes what happens when you put all your eggs in one basket, then you're like, hey, it's not working for me. Right. You're like, the platform is not, but the fact is that it was not the right approach. So talk about the right approach.
Swapnil, that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. I'm a big believer in piloting things. I'm a big believer in finding those applications, finding those teams that want to push to that next level. They want to go that one step further, climb that next mountain. And so I think the advice I would have is find a team. Don't try to go all in all at once. Find a team, find a group, find a pilot, and move them to Git. Move them onto Git, and then allow yourself a little bit of time to iron out any wrinkles, let them get used to that change moment, and then use them as your launch pad to roll this out to the rest of your organization. When we originally did DevOps on the mainframe, that was our approach. Start with a pilot, start with a group, start with a group that was willing to make that move, and then get them set up, get them automated, get them doing automated pipelines, automated testing, and then from there use them as a benchmark to move the rest of your organization. And I think Git will follow the same pattern, moving to Git. It's going to be a change moment. You're going from one type of development methodology to another type of development method, whether you're doing GitHub Flow or Git Flow or any of those, I think there's 100 strategies for how you handle Git. I think 2 came out while we were interviewing here. That said, once you determine that and figure that out, then you can use that to roll out to the rest of your organization.
Well, last question before we wrap this up is also, there are a lot of efforts from the mainframe ecosystem. Open Mainframe project is part of those efforts. Zoe project is also there to kind of modernize things, bridge a gap between the seasoned developers and the new developers who were born in the cloud native era, born in the Git era. What role do you think this move to Git will also play to attract those developers who are also very well versed with this whole DevOps methodology, Git word?
I think this is key. I think the rise of CLIs and open source frameworks like Zoe, like other things that are being developed, I think the move to Git, bringing in modern development IDEs like Topaz Workbench from BMC or VS Code, those things are going to be essential to get that next generation of developer in. If you think about engineering college today, people are going in, the first thing they get is a GitHub account, and they start using GitHub as their, or whatever flavor of Git the college is offering. They start using that as their source code management system, and they're pulling down Eclipse or VS Code, mostly VS Code, to handle writing their source code. So providing that same look and feel, those same tools, that same developer experience to your newer developer coming in is essential to keeping the platform. I don't want to say keeping the platform, keeping mainframe application development modernized, relevant, and cool. You're going to need, people don't want to come in and look at a green screen. They don't want to come in and see, and no offense meant to my green screen brethren out there, but they don't want to come in and see a VI look and feel. They want that modern IDE. They want Git. They want those things that they're used to. Once you have that, then Developing on a mainframe is just a matter of learning COBOL, learning PL1, learning DB2 stored procedures, learning those things that are nuances to the mainframe. Everything else should look and feel the same. And it's going to look and feel exactly the same way that the guy sitting next to you writing Go looks and feels, right? Your developer experience is the same across both of those.
Yeah, just the way when we do a transaction on our phone, send money, we don't know whether it's going through a mainframe. It is most of the cases going through a mainframe.
I would argue probably 99%
exactly,
going through a mainframe.
but we don't know what the backend is. So similarly, the front-end experience for developer should be no different. It doesn't matter what you're developing for or on. Anthony, thank you so much for taking time out today.
Thank you for having me on. This was a pleasure.